Of 1845 to 1848, with the crops dying, many Irish immigrated away hoping for a better life. The boats that carried the Irish away could not return empty. They need ballast to keep the boat afloat in the ocean. The main export from North America that was cheap, easy to transport and easy to sell was wood. It's North American pitch pine, a strong and resinous timber. When the mines closed in 1865, it filled to the surface with water. Due to the lack of oxygen, the lack of sunlight and the constant temperature, it preserved the wood as you see here today. But the last thing you'd ever expect to see sitting in an Irish mine is 160-year-old American timber. In a mine in North Carolina or Georgia where you find pitch pine, it makes sense. Connemara, not so much. As we head down through here again, hold on to the railings. By the way, do not be alarmed by that red colour on the wall. It is not blood, it is iron rust that's leached from the soil. I repeat, for those with an overactive imagination, it is not blood. Or at least that's our cover story and we stick to it. Mind your heads, everybody. Nearly everybody. Rightio, just so you know, you're now officially underground about 40 feet. And if you look back, you can see where you entered the mine above up here. As you go down through the mine, keep an eye on the walls, because if you look carefully enough, you'll see the chisel marks, cut, carved and etched into the rock where the miners broke the rock apart finding the minerals. I'll explain more about how they mined using the bar and hammer when we're standing somewhere drier. As we go down now, please hold on to the railings and take your time again. Thank you. Yeah, you can stand in here, everybody. The skull doesn't bite. Don't worry, helmets. That's what they're good for. Now, this large, dark grey stone that you see here is called dolerite. And dolerite is an igneous rock crater when magma, lava, pushed its way up through the earth around 400 million years ago. As it pushed its way up through the earth, the sheer pressure of it squeezed the marble like toothpaste from a tube along the joint. But could you imagine the sheer pressure that was so powerful that that could squeeze solid marble like it's Play-Doh? Bizarre to think about. The miners would have hated that rock because it's 3 times harder than the bedrock of the marble. And to dig through it was slow and there's no minerals inside it, so it was a waste of time. To break it, they basically have to spend way extra time, about 3 times more. These are the iron chisels that they use to break this rock. One person would spend the whole day crouched on the ground holding the chisel. He had the job of turning it while 2 men with sledgehammers would hit, turning and hitting. All you'd hear while they work is a sound of ringing metal in the air, something similar to me rattling the bar against the rock. Now that's just me rattling it, but do you imagine 20 people all around you with hammers? Doing the exact same thing at the exact same time.
A lot of broken hands too, probably.
Exactly. Well, they're called one-armed jacks for a reason. Literally. Now, once they bored the hole in about 2 foot deep, they pull the iron bar out. They fill the hole with an explosive gunpowder and run. Most of the guys are on the surface before the explosion, but the ones who lit the fuses stayed inside the mine. They hid in what they called a safe tunnel. When inside it, they cover the entrance up with a wet blanket. They keep their mouths open and their ears unblocked. Because unlike in the movies, as if you ducked and covered, the air pressure builds and your eardrums tore. It's not a very glamorous job, but we found no records of miners dying. But as I said, we found no records. Now, for those who've looked into the pool there, you've probably seen the skull. When anyone asks what that is, we tell them it's the last tour guide. He asked for a pay rise, we asked for jobs, bye-bye Mick. We have a different form of severance we pay down here. The puns and jokes get worse, people. In reality, it's put there as a Halloween joke a few years ago, and the person who put it in refused to go back into the water to take it out, so we just left it there. You can tell it's not a real skull though, because the jaw is still connected into the cranium. If you ever find a real skull, the jaw will be disconnected, because they're only held together with muscle tissue. Long story, don't ask. That actually feeds into your Dexter joke from earlier. As you head down from here, please pull up the rails again and take it to the car. I try to make jokes out of everything.
It's all good. I'm laughing at him. I'm just watching the movie Dexter's Kill Room and walking in these dark places.
The best one I've ever seen in this fight was we once had this person who did the whole part of the museum, everything, and then we got to the mine entrance and I said, now we're going to head underground here now, please ensure to hold on. Wait a second, is a mine like a cave? Yeah, it's a man-made tunnel. Well, I can't do this, I'm claustrophobic, and he turns around. Okay. I've said underground like in the museum about 20 times. How he didn't click, I don't know. We're now underground at 75 feet. This is the porcelain shaft, the main shaft of the rock and ore was lifted. But it's also the area in 1854 when they started this chamber on the surface to meet the men that were digging here. They found by chance a larger vein of lead here, going at a 55-degree angle right down to the lower chamber. Once they dug the minerals out, they refilled the whole thing with stone and rubble. And that's where in 2010, myself, Keith and Paddy spent the winter re-excavating. But the work we did to take the rubble out is nothing compared to the miners' work to break it. And as you look up through the shaft, you can see the real workmanship and the marks of their chisels cut from the marble. Imagine these people starting on the surface with a chisel and hammer in hand, digging layer after layer after layer away, until they drilled 160 feet down to the earth in 15 years. To drill one chisel into the marble can take anything up to an hour and a half to dig one chisel mark 2 foot. So one chisel is an hour and a half of their day. 2 chisels is 3 hours, 4 chisels is 6. The rock is hard, the job is tough, but this mine opened up in a famine. For them to have the job meant their kids could go off to school. They could save the town, buy a farm, or head off to America. It gave them an existence when back then they had nothing. We often talk about the ones who died in the famine and the ones who left. But without the ones who stayed, the ones who came back, or the ones who sent money home, we wouldn't be here to tell the story at all. These marks on the wall are a silent reminder of what 300 people did in the famine to try and feed their families. It's scary what people can do when they're hungry. Now at this point we can head down deeper into the mine. As we do so, I'll just turn on this light switch. As you go down through the stairs, watch out for random drips of cold water on the back of the neck. Yep. Trust me, it'll wake you up. Sorry everybody, I do have your and I get caught on the gate straight away. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, now we're going to drink like that. National treasure went down in that mine. Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, the head tube is right down, mixing water right in the ear. And when you have cold freezing water in your ear, you know it.
Oh, I know. A lot of times I gotta go swimming for my deer. I go walking always like 10-degree water. It's an instant wake up, but it's refreshing.
Oh, it is big.
No.
time.
Oh, cold weather is refreshing. Cold water is.
That's the best one.
Can you drink this water?
Pardon?
Can you drink this?
Yes, you can. But I boil it first. We're on a farm, so you never know what's around. Now, the water in this mine is perfectly crystal clear. It's actually flowing through the marble, eroding it. While it does that, calcium gets diluted into it. As it drips, it forms stalactites and stalagmites. Stalactites fall down, stalagmites grow up and take hundreds of years to grow, usually. But the ones you're seeing here aren't 100 years old, they're not 1,000 years old, they're only about 19 years of age. They're what we call straw stalactites. They're hollow in the middle, they grow extremely rapidly. In fact, these are growing so fast though, they're so fragile, if the wrong way pulls on them, they break, and they'll start regrowing again. We'll give them 1,000 years, and I hope we'll grow into something a bit more impressive. To see who actually took you here in 1,000 years. Now usually this tunnel that you see behind me is in pitch darkness, because I don't turn the light on it. And the reason I do that is I usually have a candle at the end of it burning in the darkness to demonstrate the light that the miners have to work by. There's no gas, no oil, no carbide. They work by raw candlelight. But the candles they use weren't made from wax like the ones we use today. They were made from tallow, animal fat. They smelled of rotten meat and gave off a dark black smoke. Working by them for 10 to 12 hours a day? Not a pleasant experience. Could you imagine 3 guys in a dark tunnel? One guy is quite literally crouched down in the corner with a thick leather helmet on his head. Sitting on his helmet is a tin holder with the candle. He's holding the chisel against the rock, turning it, while two men with sledgehammers hit. All you hear is the clanking of metal in the air leaking out while they work. You smell the smell of the candle, and you feel water flowing around your feet. The conditions down here are horrible. If you ever meet a miner and ask them honestly what the hardest thing for them to be, the majority will take a look at you and say the day they left work. And it's not because they're losing money. It's when you work in a job like that, you have to put your utter trust in the people working beside you. Because if something went wrong, they're the first ones to dig you out, or the last ones you see. It's like being in the army, the police force and the fire brigade. You became brothers in arms and you looked after each other. When the mines closed, that bond that you built up over the years felt like it was being torn away from you. But the lucky few who stayed in town, bought their farm and fed their kids. The ones who didn't immigrated, and when they left, they never came home. It's like you lost a brother. Every day, usually on my first tour of the day, as a market reflects that way of life, the ones who've lost theirs. I